Sills, National Football Show. It's a football Monday. Coming off of what has to be one of the greatest wild card weekends in NFL history. That was absolutely fantastic football. I mean, look, the second half of the 49er game, it got away from Seattle a little bit, but the rest of those games were absolutely spectacular. That's some of the best football. And I've told you this. The more we go into the divisional round and now into the conference championship in 2 weeks, you're going to start to see some of the best ball because the best coaches, the teams playing the best, the guys who have had traditionally the best seasons are all going to be playing against one another. You saw some great coaching. You saw some suspect coaching. You saw some guys growing in front of our eyes. And we saw some great storylines. Obviously, Eagles and Chiefs were off this past week. Both teams got the bye. They're in action this week. How about Andy Reid versus Doug Peterson? We'll get to Dougie P here in a minute. How about the job that the Giants did against Minnesota? I don't think any of us are surprised that Minnesota got bounced. But that Giant team that I watched, that's not the same New York team that I saw all year long. And I just don't mean in the Eagle games. I don't recognize that team. They took more shots down the field. Hey, Lawrence and Williams, those two defensive tackles in the middle, I think they're the two best defensive tackles in the National Football League, and that includes San Francisco. That team can stop the run, man. Kayvon Thibodeau was all over the field. I don't recognize Daniel Jones. I don't recognize him. My question going to be with the Giants is, can they do it week to week now? Was that just a one of? You know what I'm saying? Was that a one of? Because I can't sit here and tell you on January 16th, here on a Monday, oh, the Giants are going to put that same effort against the Eagles this weekend. I don't know that because that team I didn't recognize. Obviously, it's Eagles and Giants this weekend. Saturday night will be the divisional round game. Lincoln Financial will have the Giants. All the games were close. I think this game will be close too, probably because of health reasons. And I said this and I tweeted this through the game. What the Giants did to the Vikings, it wasn't so much, and I know Justin Jefferson got shut down again in a big game. But the Viking defense, they can't stop anybody. I mean, I talked to Feliciano, the center. He's a Miami Hurricane. He goes, we were just pushing them off the ball. They started dominating the football into the second half. And he was like, it was really shocking on what we were doing. I mean, they were so concerned about Dimes Jones getting out in the perimeter. And I think they took a page out of Philadelphia. And I think they put some of that RPO stuff into the offensive game plan. And Daniel Jones is a cheap man's version, I think, of Jalen Hurts. I mean, he would his stat line, 300 yards passing, 70 yards rushing, 2 touchdown passes, 114 quarterback rating. I didn't recognize the guy. We're going to talk more about that, but there is no doubt that Giant team could beat the Eagles. You know why? They got better coaches than you. Martindale and Dable are better coaches than anything you have on that staff outside of Jeff Stoutland. Hey, that is a given. They're better coaches. Better coaches. Is that enough? I don't think so. Oh, here, I'll bury the lead here on a Monday. But that game, I think, is going to be very interesting. They all were interesting. Look, a lot of teams. I thought the Bills played tight. I thought the Niners played tight early on. I thought Cincinnati played tight. All the teams that were favored, I thought they played tight. And when they had leads, they allowed the opponent to come back in. Dude, I tweeted out Skylar Thompson. Sounds like a porn or a stripper's name. I mean, the guy played well. If Tua's in that game, is that a different ball game? Maybe. Maybe. Some of my takeaways, though, going back to the Giants and Vikings game. Brian Daboll's the best coach in the NFC East. Daniel Jones was spectacular. We're going to look at some of the numbers in that game. Lawrence and Williams were off the chart great. They did things differently as coaches. The Giant coaching staff was different. They took more shots down the field. They allowed Jones to control more of the play calling with the RPO stuff. Barkley was the second guy there. Looked a lot like Miles Sanders. Some of the receivers and people I've never heard of. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the old 80s New York Giants. I don't know who the wideouts are. I mean, they took more shots deep. It was interesting to see the play calling. Again, the hunger. Galladay wanted to play. It just looked different, man. By the numbers, too, 31-24. They go into Minnesota, beat the Skull. 28 first downs to 21. 68 plays. They held the Minnesota Vikings to 56 plays. Their defense showed up big. Again, my question for the Giants is going to be, can they do it again? I've seen the Eagles do it on a 17-game basis outside of the last game of the year. Okay, but I've seen the Eagles do it all year long. You know, I mean, sure, they kind of stumbled across the line at the end of the month, and that last month wasn't their best ball. I'll make this point to you. I personally think that Daniel Jones is playing better football than Jalen Hurts the last month going into the playoffs. He's playing better football. And some would go, how can you say that? Well, Hurts wasn't on the field, and he's been hurt. Okay? I didn't say he's a better player. I said he's playing better ball because he's healthy. He was on the field. He's got a playoff win. Your guy doesn't. He excelled in that playoff game. I get it. Brady, Bucks, at home, completely different animal. Kirk Cousins, I'm not saying that. But Jones is playing better ball right now. Joshua goes, dumb take. How can you say that? Hurts has been hurt. The last month, he's played 2 games. And in the last game, he looked like shit. Dumb and stupid comment by you. Third down. Giants were great. 7-13. Vikings 4-10. Total yards, 431 to 332. I think the Giants pounded the Vikings. Here's Daniel Jones by the numbers. 24-35, 301, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Protecting the football is very critical in the postseason. 114 quarterback ranking. Rushing 17-78, 4.6 per carry. The carries are high. He's a dual threat guy too. There's no doubt they're rounding him into being a dual threat guy also. They're taking advantage of his 4.5 40. There's no question. They're going to utilize all of his assets. Now, look, some of the Giant players are calling him elite. I'm not. And personally, I'm not giving him a franchise tag in the offseason of $45 million. I'm not doing that. That's too high. I want to see him do it again. I'd offer him something else, but I'm not giving him a franchise tag of $45 million. That's actually, Daniel Jones is in a damn good place right now. That win for him is going to mean a lot of money for him in the offseason. Daniel Jones winning a playoff game like that on the road, it's the first playoff win for the Giants since they won their last Super Bowl. Daniel Jones made a lot of money. How much that is, I don't quite know yet. But I am not franchise tagging that guy $45 million. That's what the projected tag's going to be. Not me. Not doing that. I want to, dude, he is getting better in front of our eyes. He is. That was his best game as a professional football player, by far. I'm watching this guy. I'm going, who is this guy? That was some job of playing football by a quarterback who I think sucks. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. This Isaiah Hodgins kid, 8 catches, 105. I mean, he's thrown to some guy named Slayton, 4 catches, 88. The Giants have no receivers whatsoever. Barkley was like a second dude in that game. Scored 2 touchdowns. It was important. He was good in the red zone, but really that game was about Daniel Jones and the Giant defense. Or you can also say the Vikings' shitty defense. You can drop that on it there. Man, Daniel Jones made some money. He absolutely made some money. Going to get into the topics here in a minute. But before we get into the topics, I want to say this to you. Congratulations to Doug Peterson. The coach that the Eagles fired has now won 10 ball games in Jacksonville. Nick Sirianni better win the Super Bowl. Or you fired a guy that would have took you to another one. Doug Peterson, with this talent, would win the Super Bowl. By the way, real quick, let me walk back on something. What do you think Daniel Jones would do with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Miles Sanders? Would he do the same job that Jalen Hurts is doing in Philly? Would he do the same job? He's 6'5". Okay? Daniel Jones is 6'5". Versus a 6'1". I know you guys like to bring up the 600-pound squatter. He's 6'5". He's a big dude. Daniel Jones would do the same thing in Philadelphia that Jalen Hurts is doing. He's got nothing but Barkley. Nothing. He's got nothing. I couldn't believe what he did. I couldn't believe it. But back to the point on Doug Peterson. You fired a coach who won 10 ball games in Jacksonville and was down 27-0 in the second half. And they turn around and they beat the Chargers. Unbelievable job by Doug. Dude, you know, I was telling Xander prior to coming on the air, do you know what the asset and the number one asset that Doug Peterson has that I think is essential to being a good coach? He's believable. Doug's believable. You believe him when you're 27 down. Because you know what Doug does to you with all the experience he's had? And I talked to numerous playoff coaches, and I talked to Jimmy Johnson about this. Coach, when you're coaching in a playoff game, what is your message to your team? Do you know the most important message that a coach has to his team? Don't worry about the Super Bowl. Don't worry about the next round. Don't worry about the next quarter. Are you the best team in this particular series? Win every series. Every series in the playoffs matter. Every time you have a drive, it matters. That's why when Joey Bosa acts the way he does, you can't do that, because that could be the difference between you losing the game and giving the opponent the opportunity to close you out. Bosa wasn't the reason that the Jags came back, but that was part of the second half collapse of the Chargers. They weren't focused on winning the moment. Win the moment. I think Doug teaches that. How would Nick know that? Honestly. The only experience that Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff has is getting killed by the Bucs. Now, that could be overrated. But boy, I'll tell you, the teams that play in the moment all the time, like the Chiefs, Andy Reid, there's no coincidence what Reid's doing in Kansas City did in Philly. Some of these coaches, I think Brian Dable, the experience of being around Nick Saban, the experience of being around some of the best coaches in college and in pro football, I think it resonates in how he deals with his team. I think they believe Brian Dable. Brian Dable's the best coach in the NFC East, and I don't think it's a conversation. I don't think it's close. I don't. This game's going to be a great battle. I'm looking forward to this. That is not the same Giant team, and then again, that's not the same Eagle team. That's not the same Eagle team. Playing your worst football heading into the postseason. Not your best, and you know it. The Giants are playing their best. And that kind of equalizes it. Now, does talent always rule in the end? Yes. Yes, but you're not playing your best ball. You haven't since Chicago. But I'm not here on a Monday saying you're going to lose. Every single one of those games over the weekend, the point differential was 3.2 points outside of the 49er game. I think we're going to see the same kind of stuff. Eagles aren't playing good ball. The Giants are. It's a different looking football team. Again, do I think you have more talent than the Giants? Absolutely. Absolutely. Across the board. But you're not playing your best ball. And that's going to make the game closer. You are not blowing anybody out. You're not. You're not blowing anyone out. This is going to come down to a fourth quarter football game. And by the way, let's go back in Eagle history this year. Every team that has played them a second time, can't count that. Well, you almost can because the Giants made it a competitive game with their third team on the last game of the year. They made it competitive. I mean, they didn't even play their backup, Tyrod Taylor. They played the third team stiff. Washington was destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles in the first one. Washington came back with Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera and beat them. And now you've got Brian Dable and Martindale. Those are better coaches than what you have. What, you think Shane Steichen's a better offensive coordinator than Brian Dable? That is not true. You think that that Gannon's a better defensive coach than Martindale? I do not think that at all. That Giants team's not the same team. Now, I'll throw it out to you because know this, their coaching's better than yours. Are the Giants a threat to the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend? Are you concerned? You're not playing well going into the postseason. I think it's more about being hurt and the quarterback being out. Okay? I think it's more about, Yale goes, Kafka calls the plays. Yeah, I know. Same way Eric Bieniemy does in Kansas City. Thanks, Yale. Yeah, Eric Bieniemy's the offensive coordinator too, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but we know what's up. Brian Dable's got his hands all over that, and you know it. Same way in Kansas City. Andy Reid carries that play sheet for a reason, not because Eric Bieniemy is the play caller. So we could say whatever we want, and we can have that illusion, or we can have that impression too. Well, okay. Yeah, okay, so you think that Kafka turned around Kafka turned around Daniel Jones. I don't. We'll agree to disagree. Now, Mask brings a point up, and that's kind of where I'm at, Mask. Can the Giants do it again? I don't know that. Mask, I'm with you on this one. I don't know they could do that again, what they did in Minnesota. I don't know that. I can't sit here and go like this. Hey, man, this Giants football team is a great football team. They're going to go into Lincoln Financial, and they're going to I don't know. That team looks so different. If they show up and are a completely different team on Saturday night, we'll kind of go back to what we're saying right now. They're still young, and they've got a lot of gaps on that roster yet where they've got to fill. Is that fair? Okay? Maniac. And it's in Philly. The whole deal. I agree, man. Hey, I just told you guys on a Monday, I don't think the Giants can beat you. I thought the Giants could upset Minnesota. But now that the Giants have upset Minnesota, I think they can beat you. Okay? I think they think they can beat you. Now, if the Eagles look healthy on Saturday night, that could be a 10-point ball game. If the Eagles aren't, Lane can't finish. Thibodeau gets around. Thibodeau was all over the field on Sunday. He was all over the field. Maybe this is more of a fair comment. I think this really is all about Philadelphia on Saturday night. What Philly team's going to show up? The healthy team that we saw in September and October? Or the team that we saw sputter down the stretch because of injury? Because of injury. Listen, I am not, and know this, I don't want this to land wrong. I am not sitting here telling you that the Eagles played shitty football the last month of the season because of player talent. It's not true. They were missing key components, and that made them sputter a bit. Tone says Dexter Lawrence was playing out of his mind. He is a force. I see why he made the Pro Bowl. And by the way, that Williams kid next to him, they're the two best defensive tackles in the National Football League. They are spectacular ball players. And now that you've got an edge rusher in Thibodeau, he's not the biggest guy. You know who he reminds me of a little bit, Kayvon Thibodeau? He kind of looks like Hassan Reddick. He's kind of built like Reddick. Maybe a little taller, but he's a little dude. They were. I'm just telling you, man, the Giants struggle a little bit in their O-line too. That's going to be I think that's going to be an advantage for the front seven of the Philadelphia Eagles against the Giants. I think Daniel Jones hit a lot of the deficiencies in the O-line in that Vikings game. Okay? Again, I know maybe some of you thought that I was going to come out here and tell you that I think the Giants are going to beat. I do not believe that. But I think that coach is a really good coach. And I think that football team is going to show up again. But what Mass said, can they do it again? That's a fair comment. That is as fair as you could possibly get. Can that team show up and do it again? I haven't seen the Giants now they've played pretty well the last couple games of the year outside of the final game against the Eagles. They played pretty well. They had to play playoff. And I'll tell you this, the Giants have been playing playoff football more than the Eagles have because they had to play to continue their opportunity to make it to the postseason. So the last month of the season, they were in playoff mode. The Eagles haven't been. The Eagles were not in playoff mode until the final game of the year, and they kind of half-assed it because the Giants didn't have their first team out there. Okay? Fax Reddick is smaller but provides speed and power. I think the kid Thibodeau was exceptional. He was exceptional. It was exceptional, man. Exceptional. So they're going to – Keon, I don't know. Keon, that could have been a max effort up in Minnesota. The Giants turn around in the divisional game and lay a giant egg, don't put any points up, and the Eagles beat them 30-7. Could you see that? Sure. This is uncharted territory for the Giants. That's Daniel Jones. You know Daniel Jones has a playoff victory and Jalen doesn't? So when people go like this, Jalen's going to play great in the postseason. That's an assumption. That's an assumption. Here, I'll use my boy Tone's word. Technically true. Technically true. Dimes Jones has played an exceptional playoff game. Again, it's not Brady. It's not the Bucks. It's not down against the defending champions. I totally get that, and I agree. It's a different animal. Vikings, Brady. Come on now. I got it. Okay? That wasn't my comment, Mask. He played like shit in his first playoff game. The assumption he's going to play well is only that. It's an assumption. It's an assumption. That's it. He hasn't. That is not fact. It's fantasy thinking. They beat him in Minnesota. I get it. I get it. I get the whole thing. I want to see, but I want to see the Giants do it again. Giants come out and they're laying it on people in the first half. Then we're going to have a ball game into the fourth quarter. Okay? Then we're going to have a game. I don't think the Giants can beat them. Because the Giants haven't put up, hey, remember this too when I say this to you. Jalen Hurts has not had a very good postseason so far. Early in his career, early in his resume. It's okay. A lot of players do it that way. A lot of players don't play well. Look at John Elway. Okay? Look at Elway. Okay? I get it. I understand it. Look at Matthew Stafford. What was he, 1-3 before he got into the Rams? I get it. I understood. He's got a long way to go to build a resume up. All I'm saying is, let's see it. Let's see if the coaches put him in a position to win. I don't think he has the coaches. I think Daniel Jones does. Daniel Jones is getting better coaching than what Jalen Hurts is. That leads me into this. Do you think Jalen will play great then? I think it's his health is. Hey, watch this. That's a great question. Dofi, do I think Jalen will play well? If healthy? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Do you think Jalen will play better than Jones? I don't know. I think both are unknowns. Whether Jalen plays good in the postseason is an unknown. And I think if Jones could put another playoff game together is also an unknown. You want me to sit here and throw an opinion out and say which guy does? I'm not that kind of guy. Jalen most likely will play the better game because he's played better the entire season. And he's had a better year than Daniel Jones. Okay? Is that fair? He's been more consistent. See, I am a creature of consistency. I like the consistency. Jackson says, what's wrong with the Vikings defense? They can't stop the run. And they're weak on the perimeter. They can't set the edges. Daniel Jones did what Jalen did. Broke them down, got outside, created those third and shorts. They're weak in the middle, and they're weak at setting the edges. I mean, their tackling in the secondary is suspect as well. Dude, you were letting nobodies wide open. I think the whole scheme, in my opinion, plus some personnel issues, man, Mike Zimmer was supposed to be a defensive guru when he was up there. He left that defense not in good shape. Now, not to say that Justin Jefferson was a superstar. I think he had less than 50 yards in that game. That was a terrible defensive football effort by the Vikings in that game. Jameson goes, Allen's going to cost the Bills. Dude, comparing Josh Allen to Jalen Hurts is like comparing a wishbone quarterback to Tom Brady. Some of those throws are unbelievable and electric. Here's the problem that I have with Josh Allen, and I saw it on display. That one hand grabbing the ball and taking off running or in the pocket when he's feeling pressure, dude, you got to protect that ball better, man. You've got to protect that football better. He's got to be better at that. But when it comes to arm talent, there's nobody in that room. He's an electric player. You want to hear something? First time in Bills history, they lost the turnover battle and still won. Nobody wins playoff games with 3 turnovers. I didn't think Joe Burrow played great. I tell you what, the kid Purdy in San Francisco probably played the best. No, Jones played the best. Josh Allen's a spectacular talent. All you have to do is watch it. You never do this with Hurts. Wow. With Allen, you go unbelievable. Unbelievable. Exceptional talent. Nobody outside of Philadelphia would ever, I could ask a zillion people, would you draft Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen? Not one person outside of an idiotic person in Philadelphia would say Jalen. If you put the guys on the team, the same team, you're taking Allen. It's not close. I'm not having this debate anymore because it's an idiotic conversation. Completely idiotic. He's got to protect the football better. And that's the one, there's only one thing that Jalen Hurts does better than Josh Allen. He protects the ball better. He does. That's a fact. He protects the ball better. Outside of that, there's nothing Josh Allen does better than him. I mean, there's nothing Jalen Hurts does better than Josh Allen. Nothing. Zero. 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 I thought Richie, I thought that Lawrence played better in the second half. Okay? I do love the way Jalen's improved too. He has. And by the way, as I said, I think Jalen has had more improvement from his first year starting to his second year than what Josh Allen has. But he's not a better talent. That's a fact. All you have to do is turn on a game and watch some of them. And by the way, do you understand? Okay, I'm going to give it to you one more time why you're 10 times off. The Philadelphia Eagle coaching staff, and Xander, here's why Allen's better. The Philadelphia Eagle coaching staff would never have Jalen Hurts throw high-skilled passes and high-effort throws and throws the way he throws the ball. They would never allow him to do that on an everyday basis. Some of those throws he makes in between 2 to 3. You're going to have a higher turnover, but he also throws the ball 700 times. Your guy throws it 420. You're going to have more turnovers. He throws more high-level throws. Just like Mahomes, just like Burrow, Jalen Hurts doesn't throw a ton of high-level throws. It's to Goddard. It's to AJ. It's to Devontae. He doesn't throw into double guys covering him. Some of those throws in that game against the Dolphins, they were exceptional. Again, he's got to work on protecting the ball better. Josh Allen throws more high-level passes, and that's a fact than what Jalen Hurts does. It's really not a question. Patrick Mahomes throws higher-level passes. Tom Brady does. Okay? Dimes Jones is in kind of like the Jalen Hurts role. They don't throw high-level passes. Okay? Joe Burrow throws high-level passes. So does Trevor Lawrence. That's the difference between the elite guys and Jalen and Daniel Jones. They're not elite arms. Jalen Hurts does not have an elite arm, and nor does Daniel Jones. But they're elite players. It's okay to have that distinction. They win. It's all good. It's just the style. Like Daniel Jones is not an elite player. I don't care what his teammates say. Okay? Jalen is not an elite thrower of the football. He's not elite. Those guys throw high-level passes every game. Jalen doesn't. He'll throw 2. Those guys throw 35. That's why when you're down or you have a pick, that guy's going to put 14 points on you in 3 minutes. Here, I'll make a point to you. If the Philadelphia Eagles get down by 21 points or 25 points, you're never coming. You don't have comeback. That football team's not built to come back. Allen and Mahomes and Burrow and those guys can throw their teams back into a game. Your guy can't. He's got to run you back into a game and high percentage pass you back into a game. That's who he is. Same thing with Daniel Jones. It's not a rip. They're winning a boatload of games. I think you guys sometimes get caught up in the method instead of the result. Okay? The result is all you need to worry about. He's got a different way of getting there. Everybody does. Not everybody's the same. It's just, for me, I don't do dual threat guys. Daniel Jones is a dual threat guy. Bro, end of the day, it's a dumb debate. Your guy's not better. Not one football person with any brain cells would go, let me have Hurts over a 6'6", laser throwing Josh Allen. Nobody. And he's 14-3. You make it sound like this guy's not winning ball games. Do you know that he had the highest touchdown to interception ratio entering the playoffs of any player in NFL history at 14-1? Now, the game came back to him a little bit against the Dolphins. So if we're going to go with that, he's thrown 17 touchdowns and 4 picks in 6 playoff games. That's not horrible. He had the highest touchdown to interception ratio in pro football history, 14-1 entering that game. He leaves it with 17 touchdowns and 4 picks. Jalen has 1 touchdown and 2 picks. Think about that. So in theory, in the 6 playoff games, your guy's already halfway there. Don't compare that guy to Jalen. He's nothing close to it. Jalen Hurts is more comparable to Michael Vick. He's like that. He's more of a Vick guy, but a better passer. When I mean better passer, a better completion percentage guy. And personally, I don't think he's better than Vick yet. He's got a way to go, but we'll see. Got to win a playoff game first. All right. I want to ask you this question now that we've seen Doug Peterson do what he's done. You had to have a coach a playoff team and a playoff game. Would it be Doug Peterson or Nick Sirianni? Who would you take? Doug's 14-3. Or excuse me, Nick's 14-3. So, I mean, number 1 seed. If you had to have a coach win a ball game between these 2 coaches, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, who would you take? I'm going to go somewhere with this. Doug. Sirianni's the best coach in the NFL. No, you mean he's the best cheerleader. Sirianni all day over Doug. You're tugging at my heartstrings, Danny boy, but Doug has the experience, so I will take Dougie. Wait a minute. So you think the only reason – so, Tone, the only reason that you would take Doug over Sirianni is experience? Interesting. So, when you look at Doug Peterson and he's in the locker room at halftime and he's telling that Jags team, we can win this. And I was told that he's telling these guys, win the moment. Win the moment. Win the moment. Let's get a 3 and out. Let's win the moment. Don't worry about winning the game. Win the moment. Win the moment. He's telling those guys. And shit, by the time they looked up, there was the field goal kicker on the field with seconds left in the game, and Peterson wins his 10th ball game. 10th ball game. Do you understand how freaking unbelievable of a coaching job he has done this year? I know Brian Daboll is a hell of a coach. Doug Peterson's done the best job of anybody in the league this year. Dude, Trevor Lawrence was a basket case in the first half. He was a basket case. Said to the kid, I got you. Don't worry about it. We got this. Win the moment. Win the moment. Win the moment. Dude, there's so many guys that are full of shit. And when you got a guy that you look in the face and he has complete confidence in you and he trusts you and you trust him and you know he's got your back. That's what Howie couldn't take about Doug Peterson. Howie fired a coach that would have delivered a Super Bowl and the second one in Philadelphia, in my opinion. You better win a Super Bowl this year, because if that guy makes that game against Kansas City, in Kansas City, competitive, and they get beat by Mahomes, which I'm saying they will, and you get upset by the Giants or get killed by the Niners. By the way, the Niners are better than you. The Niners are better than you. You have no answer for McCaffrey. There's no answer. And then when you go, well, they have no answer for AJ. Oh, they do. Okay? They do. Deebo Samuel is the answer. Goddard, too. Goddard and Kittle. Everything kind of X's itself out. But here's the problem in Philly. You don't utilize Miles Sanders. You're not consistently using him in the offensive game plan. Christian McCaffrey is a freaking force. Dude, I see why Howie wanted him and made a bid for him. I see why they made a bid for him. I see why he's the highest paid running back in the NFL. He is a force. That defensive line San Francisco has is unbelievable. They got the best linebacker in the game. The secondary, I thought the secondary was a tad shaky. Okay? That's going to be a hell of a ball game if it gets to the NFC title game in Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Philly. As of right now, I would probably say 1 point. 1 point, I would give the Eagles. I would favor the Eagles at 1 point, maybe. And stop thinking that this kid Brock Purdy's going to shit the bed. He's not. He hasn't. Guy threw for 4 touchdowns. Threw for 4 touchdowns. He didn't shit the bed. And he hasn't. I'll tell you what. They're going to package up Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, and the 49ers are going to get all their picks back. Or they're going to maybe not get first rounders back, but you know what they're going to do? They found their guy. Trey Lance is finished in San Francisco. I'm not moving off that dude. I'm not making the mistake that the Eagles made when they moved off of Nick Foles. I am not doing that. I'm going to ride that guy until that guy shows me he sucks. And I am not giving that job back to one-play Trey. Not happening. I am not doing that. You know what happens sometimes to evaluators and fans and coaches? You don't believe your eyes. That guy gets that ball out of there too. He can sling it. That kid can play, man. He had 4 touchdowns against Pete Carroll. Some of these guys were really good coach games. I mean, I thought, hey, listen, by the way, I want to say this before I end this conversation here with Doug and Nick. Kudos to Geno Smith. I didn't think that Geno played awful in that game against San Francisco. I thought the strip sack was the undoing of that whole game. Kudos to him for having a fabulous year. Geno Smith really had a great year, and if I'm 71-year-old Pete Carroll, I go a couple more years with him. I'm good with him. I don't draft a quarterback in the first round. I get some more skilled players. See what we could do. That kid Walker can play for Michigan State. DK Metcalf is as much as a physical nightmare as A.J. Brown is. They got some ball players up there. They just need to fix the defense a little more. Okay? They just that whole thing unraveled in the second half when that whole thing happened with the strip sack. Yeah, I'm running it back with him. Look at Masco. Geno is a bum. Well, he outplayed your guy passing-wise. And there's nothing debatable about that. Okay? Look it up. Read a book. Hey, you want to hear something too, Greg? Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday in high school, college, or in the pros. Trevor Lawrence has 2 state championships, a national championship for the Tigers. The kid's balling out. Hey, I'll say this to you too. Isn't that a crazy stat? He's never lost on a Saturday in high school, college, or in the pros. He's never lost on a Saturday. That's a crazy stat for Trevor Lawrence. Wait until Sue gets his hands on Purdy. You better hope that Trent Williams, who was a force in that Seattle game, any people throw bum and trash around so loosely, it's wild to me. Yeah, well, because they diminish others to elevate theirs. That's why, Tone. It's okay. It's a trick. It's a weak man's trick. They take a shit on one person to elevate their favorite guy. It's okay. It's what people do. Okay? See, if you downgrade, that's why when people go like this, Daniel Jones sucks. Well, Daniel Jones has won a playoff game and played exceptional in it. Jalen Hurts played in a playoff game and was destroyed and looked like shit in it. That's a fact. Until that is rectified, then until that changes, that's history right now. There's no historical context to say that Jalen Hurts will play better. Actually, there's historical context that Jalen Hurts has played bad in every single postseason game he's ever played in. From his college days, except for the SEC championship game when he came in, after Tua had the job. Outside of that, the semifinal game against LSU, he was horrific in. He got benched in the national championship game, and he got his ass kicked against the Bucs. So you're making it sound like Jalen Hurts has been this sensational guy in the postseason. Where? 4 INTs in a playoff game is unacceptable, Dan. Okay? It is. That's how you get your ass beat. Jalen Hurts never won a national championship as a starting quarterback anywhere. Ever. He was a pine rider when he won it. Okay? Tua won that national championship. He lost to Deshaun Watson in the championship game when he quarterbacked Bama. Every single postseason game, pretty much so, that Hurts has played in, he's played awful in. Going back to his college days. That's why he had the starting job taken from him at Alabama. That's actually a fact. Seals, you have downplayed Josh Allen's turn. No. No, that's not what I said. I said the one thing that he has to do better at, Josh Allen, he can't run so recklessly with the football out like this. And that pocket shit, man, where they're slapping the ball out of his hands, that's got to improve. We saw it against Minnesota later in the season or in the midway part of the season. He didn't have ball security at the goal line there when they dropped the ball against Minnesota. They'd have won that ball game, and they would have had home field advantage. And there would have been no conversation even after the Hamlin story. That ball security against the Minnesota Vikings cost the Bills home field. People don't bring that up. That's a fact. So to say I downplayed that, that's a fact. Even though the Bills and the Bengal game got canceled, dude, the football security at the goal line, when you dropped the ball and you had that game won, cost you home field advantage. Got to be better. Okay? Hey, Dan, do you respect Hurts? Massively. As a human, as a leader, as a man who loves to work, as a guy who is a phenomenal athlete, as a guy who listens, as a guy who you want on your team. There's nobody that doesn't personify what, if you had to put a blueprint of what you want to have your image of your football players to look like, Jalen Hurts is the front cover. Absolutely. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with it. Okay? Jalen has transformed himself last year till this year. He has. Not fair to compare Hurts to Allen or these other guys for 2 reasons. First, Allen weren't great till they had great play. Well, what does Jalen have around him? Dude, Jalen has the best of everything around him. There's no football player that's a quarterback in today's NFL, Steve-O, that has more weapons around him than him. Nobody. He's got the best line, one of the top 3 tight ends. He's got 2 wide receivers with 1,000 yards. He's got a defense that had 70 sacks. I mean, bro, nobody in the NFL has that. You're making it sound like Jalen is doing something that you're not expecting. Welcome to the NFL. When you have the best of everything, you should have a great record. You're making this all go like this. Look at what, hey, look, is he responsible for the winning? Absolutely. Absolutely, because I think he's better than his coaches. Modern goes, Daniel Jones will fall back to earth this coming weekend. Maybe. Modern. So you're saying this then, right? Jalen's going to eventually play better in the postseason, right? Is that what you're saying? I did get that. Yes, I did, Xander. Okay? He may. I don't think Daniel Jones has put enough games together for me to go like this. That guy's great. Seals, if we get a 30-10, will you say congratulations? Of course. Remember, see, you guys keep forgetting one thing. And you guys keep forgetting it. Tone and Xander know this. I picked the Bills and the Eagles near March or April to get to the Super Bowl and get to Glendale. I was the first guy to say that. I don't know what you guys, I mean, just because I'm a little critical of your team, don't get your panties in a bind. I picked you to get there. No one else did. I did. Xander even goes like this. Sills, you're like the first person to say it. I mean, I don't know what else you think. I mean, I said the Bills will win their first Super Bowl. I did say that. I said that the Bills are going to win. Why are you hating on the Eagles? I've never, ever in the postseason, I said the Eagles are going to beat the Giants. Dude, you listen. I mean, you know what? I should know this because I've been in broadcasting for 35 years. Most people hear what they want to hear. You hear what you want to hear. I can't change your opinion. Seals, Bills or Bengals? Josh Allen's got to protect the football better. If he doesn't, they'll lose. I didn't think Joe Burrow had his best game. I'm going to get to the playoff games here in a minute. I'm going to do that at the top. Gary Cobb, Fox 29, what's he expect against his Giant team? He watched the Giant game too, and we were floored how good the Giants look. That did not look like the same football team. Steve-O, the others became great. We had greatness around them. Hurts got better to when greatness was put around him. Steve-O, thank you, dude. Look, Jalen's improved. And Steve-O, you ready? I know you'll hear this. Others won't. I think he had a bigger leap from his first year to his second year than what Allen did. He's just not a better talent. Okay? He's just not. But watch this. Aaron Rodgers is a better talent than Tom Brady. You think Tom Brady's been on that? Okay? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a better talent than Tom Brady. Got a better arm. Got a better touch. He moves better. He is a savant the way he spins the ball. Brady's better. I mean, Peyton Manning couldn't jump over a stack of quarters. Who's a better athlete? Lamar Jackson or Peyton Manning? Who's got a bigger arm? That's not what it's always about. Okay? Look at Slasher. Allen's overrated. How can a guy who's 14-3 be overrated? How he's 14-3. He lost as many games as you guys did this year. Slasher. And he's won playoff games. He's now 3-2 in the postseason. Jalen's 0-1, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. What's your guy done? A lot less. I mean, you make it sound like Jalen Hurts is Tom Brady. He hasn't done shit. Purdy's the future? I agree. I'm not moving off that dude. I'm packaging those other guys up, and I'm sending his ass out of town. Okay? Dude, we'll see how far Jalen can take a football team. I think he can take it to the Super Bowl. I don't think he can win it, but I think he can get there. With this team, this will be the best team that Jalen Hurts will have in his entire career in Philadelphia. Remember, I said that. This football team in 2022 will be the best team and the best assembled talent he'll ever have in his career. Because if they do decide to go down and pay him, people are going to be knocked off that team. And they'll never look the same. It's what happens and why the league has set up a salary cap. Okay? You're not going to get the hometown deals. If the Philadelphia Eagles get to a Super Bowl, I love how people automatically just project that James Bradbury is not going to take the $17 million in the open market and take 12 to play in Philly. How idiotic is that? So you're going to take $15 million pay cut over a 3-year contract just because what? You think so? Never happened. Okay? Never had. This will be the best team he's ever had and will ever have. Remember something. Jalen Hurts is the lowest paid player in his own huddle. Nobody in that huddle, nobody makes, okay, I mean, he's the lowest paid guy. It's the only reason that works. That's why Tyreek Hill's not in Kansas City. Yeah, but I think the one thing when you put up those interceptions and fumbles, it doesn't matter. He's won games. Your guy hasn't. You're assuming, 5-star, you're assuming that Jalen will play better in the postseason. Name me one game he has in his career from college to pro. Name me one game where he played well in a postseason atmosphere. Just one. One. Even college. He sucked. Okay? Yeah, but Daniel Jones, I want to see you do it this weekend against the Eagles. It's great what you did against a pretty shitty Minnesota Vikings defense. Let's see you do it against a team that has 70 sacks this year. I want to see that, okay? Dude, Purdy threw 4 touchdowns against Pete Carroll. Okay? That's pretty impressive. And it's a divisional opponent. No, I don't think it's a coin. I think this game's going to be very interesting Saturday night. Josh Allen's a double-edged sword. Eagle, not that far off. Not that far off. Dude, you're up 17, and you get lazy in the handling of the football. Got a problem with that. Ken Dorsey should be in his ass for that. Dude, got to be better. The more you move on, you can't be dropping the ball on the carpet like that in a sack situation with your goal line behind you. That's a poor play. Hurts doesn't make that play. Look at Eagle. He's laughing against Pete Carroll. Well, are you under the impression Nick Sirianni's a better coach than Pete Carroll? Pete Carroll's going to the Hall of Fame. If you don't win a Super Bowl, you're going to the Hall of Shame because you fired Doug. If you don't win the Super Bowl, Howie Roseman should be blamed for it. If you don't win the Super Bowl, Howie Roseman should be blamed for the Philadelphia Eagles not winning it. Remember, he's a master at building it up and tearing it down. And because you didn't want to share the accolades with Doug, You kicked his ass to the curb. Fine. You better win it, dude. You better win it. There's a guy in Jacksonville who's going to win 7 division titles in a shitty division. How many people think the Texans are going to just emerge as some sort of world beater? There's nobody in that division. The Jags are going places. Crazy. I mean, it's January, and I'm talking about the Jags. Incredible. I usually talk about the Jags in April, around the draft. Okay? Let me say this to you, man. If Nick Sirianni doesn't win the Super Bowl, Howie Roseman should be blamed because you couldn't stand Doug in the building. Doug's won this divorce. He was the coach. He won the 17th Super Bowl. Howie did not. He's a GM. Remember, he's not out there playing. Okay? Sydney says Pro Bowlers Sue, Joseph, Cox have all won Super Bowls. Hope they step up. And plus the Eagle guys too in the building. Absolutely. Sirianni versus Dougie P in the Super Bowl. Maybe. Oh well, if Nick gets there, Doug's going to get there again. Doug's going to get there, and you know what's going to happen? Doug's going to Hall of Fame. 2 Hall of Fame coaches you fired. Okay? 2 Hall of Fame coaches you fired. Seals, if the Eagles lose to the Giants and Jones outperform Hurts, do you pay Hurts? Warrior, I'm going to get back. I'm not ignoring that. I'm not ignoring that. Okay? I'm not ignoring that. Can we not do this? Come on, Tone. Tone goes like this. Can we not? Technically, we're moving on in hour number 2. Technically, we're moving on. All right? Hey, dude, don't let Dimes Jones beat you. And Jalen plays like shit. And Doug upsets Kansas City in Kansas City. And he's in the AFC Championship. Holy cow. Everybody in Philadelphia will be on Broad Street screaming. Oh, by the way, did I not hear people cheering in Philly this past Saturday night? Hey, did I not hear people in Philly cheering for Doug? I could have swore if you opened up your window when the guy made the field goal, were people in Philly cheering? Were they? I mean, were they cheering for Doug? I could have swore I heard a bunch of people cheering from Philly. If we lose, you won't see me until tomorrow. I was absolutely cheering for Doug. That's Xander. I was happy as hell for Doug. That's what makes you guys really great fans. I know you were, and it's cool. And you know what I'm saying is true. A lot of people didn't want to see Doug exit. And that's why you guys were shitting on Howie 2 years ago. But he built this team. And you're okay with Howie today because Howie's got you in a position with the number 1 seed. I get it. I have to hit a timeout. Please hit the like button. Hour 2, Gary Cobb, Fox 29 in Philadelphia. We'll preview the divisional game Saturday night at Lincoln Financial, Giants and Eagles. We'll look at this past weekend's game. Plus, we'll look at tonight's big game, Brady versus America's quarterback versus America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. We'll do that next. Keep it here on the National Football Show.